Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the It's All Possible episode. I'm pretty excited today because I've got sitting in front of me the man mountain himself, Taylor Morgan. Taylor is a holistic lifestyle specialist and founder of the Captain's Lifestyle Program. He coaches entrepreneurs on how to lead themselves in a way that maximizes their health, happiness, and productivity so they can be the best at what they do and grow their businesses. Welcome, Taylor. How are you?
Boom. Thanks for that intro, Rob. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all, Taylor. Pretty excited with your background to talk a little more with you. It's the All Possible podcast. So, first question for you is, what does the word possibility mean to you?
Wow, that's a big question. Everything, just as the name of your show, everything really is possible. Possibility, I think, means living up to your true potential. Achieving what you were born to do. And I think if you do that, you live a fulfilling life. If you don't live up to your potential and achieve all the possibilities, then you complain and you're not really happy with yourself. So
yeah, I like that. I think for me, it's about, and like what you do, and we'll talk on the program, it's about turning possibility into probability. So that next step to go there. And that's a fantastic way of looking at it as well. Self-leadership is something that you and I are both very passionate about. And I believe it's the hardest form of leadership. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it depends. Most of my answers are probably going to be, it depends on the person. Some people, they might have their discipline dialed in and, leading themselves is not a big issue. For somebody like David Goggins, for example, the Navy SEAL who used to have a lot of problems with discipline and leading himself. He used to be 300 pounds, maybe I think even over 300 pounds, super overweight, super unhealthy. And then he just switched. And then all of a sudden it was like, now he's, I don't know, he's like not even human. He's on another level. So for him, self-leadership is extremely easy now. And so I think it depends on where you are in your journey, because leading others can be.
And I like that because, you've talked about Taylor 2.0, where you are now. And I think I'm on the Rob 4.0. I'm older than you, Taylor, but I think I'm on 4.0, just through changes as we keep evolving. And I think that's that's really the point is that sometimes it depends on where you're up to, isn't it? Sometimes you're totally in the zone. Other times you're on a journey there. But I guess one of the points I have, and I'd love to get your feedback on this one, is I think that it's very hard to lead a team or an organization when you haven't got self-leadership. What are your thoughts there?
100%. That's first and foremost. If you can't lead yourself, you expect other people to follow you. If you don't have your own stuff figured out, absolutely not. So you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to understand yourself. You have to be able to lead yourself in order to be effective as a leader of others.
Yeah, I love that you can't pour from an empty cup. And look, it's the number one. And I know it sounds so crazy to you, and probably it does to me. But the number one thing that keeps on coming back when people say, well, "What are you looking for from a leader?" It's like model the way. It's like 30 years of research. They keep doing it every year, and it comes back. Just model the way. So in other words, if you can't model the way, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah,
what are you trying to do here? So I love that.
That's one of my core values.
Let's talk about a little bit about your background as well. So your father was a professional baseball player.
Indeed, yep.
Yeah, I mean that's an amazing thing in itself. What sort of values or disciplines did you learn from him? Maybe not at the time. Maybe you come back to realize some of them. But what were some of the big things that he's professional athlete?
Funny you mentioned not at the time, because in high school I was a baseball player, and I think part of it was just because I expected things to be not necessarily given to me, but I kind of expected, because my dad had achieved, that professional level in baseball, that I would just kind of follow and down that path. But of course that's not the case. And so he would always teach me, like, practice, you have to practice to get better. And I didn't really truly grasp that until much later. It's like now I understand, like, it doesn't matter if you have talent. If you want to go anywhere in life and achieve more things, you have to practice. So that, I would say, is one of the biggest things. And also, he's a fantastic communicator. And this didn't come from baseball. He's been a golf and country club manager for the past 35 years. So dealing with people on a daily basis, complaints, and how to handle that is a big part of that.
Now, was he always a big golfer as well as a baseball player?
Yeah, he loved golf. His dad loved golf. My grandpa. So yeah, he grew up on the golf course. So it was baseball and golf are, I'd say, his two passions.
And Taylor, were you made to watch Caddyshack at least 10 times during your youth?
Yeah, I've seen it. No, we don't like play it on repeat. I think. Oh no, he took it into his office. There was like a Caddyshack memorabilia thing in here, but great movie.
You know that movie was the most stolen movie from Blockbuster when they were around in the DVD.
Was it really? Wow.
The most stolen movie is that. Yeah, slight tidbit. And so I think that, yeah, it's great communicator. I really love that. I mean, that's not always the case. But also, it's also the case sometimes our parents, try to teach us things at an early age, and we're not ready for it. The master's there, but the student's not ready. Sometimes they say the students. When the student's ready, the master appears, but sometimes the master's been there the whole time, but we're not ready. So it's a great point that you reflected on that. Now you were in the strong military life before moving into the current role. I'm interested to play on a couple of things here. What was it like moving from military life to civilian life when you decided to make the change?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was amazing. I loved it. I couldn't wait to get out of the military. So I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it today. But for a lot of veterans, it can be very difficult to make that transition, mainly because of they don't feel a sense of purpose or connection to any group of people or mission. Because
Right.
in the military, that's very strong. And so if you get out and you don't really have a sense of purpose, then you're just kind of lost. I had a strong sense of purpose. Starting out in CrossFit is a great community. So yeah, I loved getting out.
Yeah, I like it on purposes too. I'm a big believer in we have purposes through our life. And if I think about you, reflect upon you, one of your great purposes was getting into the military, right? So you had
Mhm.
it early on in your life, and you clearly were successful at that. And then you evolved, and the purpose became, what can I do outside the military? And so you had that second purpose. So when you were
Yeah.
moving out of it to you, it was a transition that you were in charge of, I think,
Hmm.
through that. And I just think, I mean, Dwayne the Rock Johnson did a great post on Instagram recently about this, about his multiple sets of purposes. His first purpose was literally surviving. Next purpose was getting a job. Then it was in the WWE, and then he said it just keeps evolving. Is that your kind of thinking as well? That our purposes evolve as we go through life?
I think, yeah, if you're on autopilot, I mean, I think, yes, broad terms, yes, but I think you need to really define your mission and your vision. And so that's one of the first things I teach in my program, because if you're not clear on what you want the end goal to be, like if you don't know the legacy you want to leave or how you want to be remembered, how are
Yeah,
you going to get there? So
yeah,
once you define that, your mission statement, for example, I believe is a living, breathing document,
yeah.
kind of like the Constitution. So the general, principles stay the same, but you can make some tweaks along the way based on how your life is going.
And I love that. I mean, in my book, It's All Possible, I start with three things: vision, strategy, action.
Mm,
I love to bounce this one off you because I originally had the book written around vision, strategy, action. And I built mindset into how you actually execute. I ended up flipping the book literally 2 months before I was about to go to print, because what I found was that um, because I've come up through elite sport and business and have been that mindset, I always had the attitude and mindset. What I found was 90% of people didn't have the right attitude and mindset. And so I had to I actually started the whole book around the other way. So I started the book with attitude and mindset, because what I found was if the mindsets were small, the vision was small. Have you come across that?
absolutely. I think a lot of people, myself included at times, I think everybody has some form of self-limiting belief, whether that's I don't have time, whether that's I can't, fill in the blank, whether that's I mean, those are the big ones. I don't have time or I can't dot dot dot.
Yeah.
That's your own self-limiting belief. You are the only one that's holding yourself back from whatever it is that you want to accomplish. Once you change your mindset, like the name of your podcast, anything is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I found as soon as I got that, because what I found with people was, um, some of them had amazing talent, but their self-limiting beliefs were holding them back. And the problem with holding them back is that you and I don't get to see the best of them. So the world doesn't get to see the best of them. And that's a shame. No one wins out of that, like we're all losing out of someone holding themselves back. And so I flipped around to just get that attitude and mindset right, to think, well, actually, what is truly possible for them? Let's break down. I love those two. The blanks, a couple of really good blanks. Don't have time. Don't have. What's the always turns into woulda, coulda, shoulda.
One of the best questions that I like to ask people when they give some form of excuse is that true? And I learned this from my chiropractor, his podcast, the Nexus podcast. Just ask yourself, is that true? And like really think about it, because if you have that self-limiting belief, you're just automatically going to say, yeah, it's true. Like, what do you mean? Of course it is. But like, no, like, is it really true? Like, is that the way it is, or could it be some other way? So really ask yourself that.
Taylor, I got to ask you, I love it, but how did your chiropractor come up with it?
I mean, chiropractors get a bad rap, but if you get the right chiropractor, they can change your life. So my chiropractor, Dr. Daniel Kimberly, he's amazing. He takes the same holistic approach that I do. He understands that, living a good, healthy life is all about everything. Every little piece has to be in play. It's not just about nutrition. It's not just about exercise. It's about how you can combine all these things into your schedule to live the life you want to live.
I love it. I nearly became a chiropractor in my early days, Taylor.
Wow.
You know why I wanted to become a chiropractor?
Why is that?
Because I met one who was a customer of my dad's auto shop. And this guy drove this amazing Jaguar. He worked 3 days a week. He had this stunning girlfriend, and he rode dirt bikes the other 2 days. And I thought, this is my journey.
Living the lifestyle.
It was medical school and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But that's great. I love, and what I love about that is you've got to be open for where stuff can come from. That from that podcast is a great, is it true? I love that with the pause at the end. I love the tonality you put on that to go. People go, maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
Like that. We were talking about the move from military to civilian life. Something I've noticed, and I don't know whether you've come across it or not, but I've noticed a lot of people who are very good in elite sport, Olympians and the like, in a very disciplined manner, go about their business, results orientated, very purposeful, move from out of that sporting life into corporate life, often don't make the jump, don't make the move well. And it could be a little bit like the military one. If you come across people like that as well, any thoughts of why they often struggle in a corporate business life from their sporting life?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't worked with any high-level athletes. That's not my niche, but I have worked with some former military members, and I think it just goes back to the sense of purpose to start, but then also if they're in a business sense that they don't know anything about that, especially if they're trying to start their own company. They think just because they're this, big name athlete that they're going to have a successful company. There's a whole lot more that goes into running a successful company.
Yeah.
I thought that once I build this amazing program that I created, the term build it and they will come. I thought I've got all this amazing stuff that can help change your life. Here you go. I made it. Come buy it. Nobody cares. You have to learn how to market. You have to learn how to sell.
No one cares. I love that.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I mean, you go, my God, I've got the greatest IP known to man. And no one cares if I can't.
Yep. Yep.
I think that's a great one. I remember doing a workshop with a very big, if you're familiar with rugby at all, rugby, and he was a national player in Australia for rugby, and he moved into the kind of what I'd call a business development role in a large corporate, but he was very switched on. He was really process orientated. I remember seeing him after running a workshop around sales, and he came to me at a lunch break and he goes, "You know what, Rob, I'm loving this." He said, "I've just worked out. I reckon that I'm finding it really easy to get the first meetings because people just want to meet me. And I'm not getting the second and the third meeting." And he goes, "I reckon do you reckon they're just wanting to meet me because I was like a member?" I said, "Yeah, 100%. Yep. I said, "You're a great guy, but you got to really watch out for these tire kickers because you're getting people in there who just want to meet you and get a selfie done. Yep. And never seeing you." And he just said, I thought the whole business thing would be dead easy. And I've just realized it's actually even harder for me now because I've been blindsided. I actually thought I had all this connection. Yeah. And so he went back to the drawing board. But what I liked about this guy was he went back to the drawing board. He just knows how to get good. Said, right, so I'm scrapping that. This is now me, 3.0.
Yep.
I'm on to my corporate career. I'm ignoring the rest. I really want to know what they want to see. I'm going to drill down early. So I think some make believe. The bit I found, Taylor, was that some of them get into if they go to larger companies, especially, I find they might struggle because the sense of purpose, the discipline, the numbers, the sort of orientation around, everyone in a team collaborative environment just isn't there. And they long for that.
Mm.
Yeah. I think in small businesses,
Yeah,
sometimes they're entrepreneurial, they can be successful because once they have a path. But as you said, quite often, you come in and you think all this is put my name, my brand out there, put the website up and a couple of Instagram accounts and I'm in good shape.
Yeah, well, I teach my clients and I coach primarily CEOs and founders, not employees, but it applies if you're applying for a job. I tell my clients to, once they create their core values and their mission statement, that's one of the first things we do, to hire by them, fire by them, and reward by them. Because if you do that, you're going to have employees that actually care, that actually want to do work for you. If your employees align with where you want to take your business, they're going to enjoy their work. They're not going to complain about, working, and they're not going to not like their boss if they align with a vision because they're working towards a greater purpose. What happens a lot of times is you get employees who don't like their boss, don't like their job, complain because they don't like the work. If you align with the work, if you're fulfilled in what you're doing, you're going to enjoy it and you're going to get more productive work out of your employees.
I think it's a really good point, and locking that down and just making sure you're hiring right. There's so much is done bad in poor hiring, I find. We just hire the wrong people and we're trying to fix something that was kind of not right in the first place. I remember Mark Andreessen, who founded Netscape many years ago, and when he sold it at Netscape and he was doing his next venture, someone asked him a question, said, well, what would you do differently this time than when you founded Netscape? And he said, well, I can tell you that my first two hires have been a lawyer and an HR person. And he said, because the time wasted on hiring the wrong people, trying to fix the problem, exiting the wrong people, he said, it's just a time sink. And it's just, you lose so much innovation and momentum. So I'm locking down where I'm going, exactly to your point. We know where our values are. We know where our purpose is. I'm hiring a HR manager to run that for me. So it's really clear. And that's what we're doing. I think it was, you got to take someone who went through hell going through the first bit to learn. And it's exactly that, because the human resources are fantastic when they're on fire, but not so much if they're not. I love this quote. I think I was doing some research on you, and I think you had the quote up there that says, it is impossible for man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Epicus said that. So it's impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Do you come across that with your clients, at least in the early days?
All the time. Even today, I was messaging with an old friend on Instagram. I saw they posted up something about, they're struggling with anxiety and stress, for example. And I reached out to them and said, hey, let me know what's going on. I can help. And then they replied, no, you can't. And I was like, and then they replied like, yeah, I respect your entrepreneurial journey, everything you're doing, but I know what I have to do and I've got it. I was like, okay, well, in that case, you're right. I can't help you. If you think you know what's going on and you don't think that I can help, then you're absolutely right. I can't, because you can only learn what you think you don't already know. If you think you know it 100%, why would you need another opinion? So something I always say is like, you can learn something from everyone, even if it's what not to do. So listen to what the other person has to say, and not just listen just to listen, but like actually try to understand where they're coming from. And there's been times when I thought that I was 100% right, and it turns out after further research I was wrong. And so you change your opinion and not let your ego get caught up in it, because to admit you're wrong can be difficult, but once you do admit that you're wrong and you learn and change from it, you get better. So
Yeah, I think that's a great one, and I've certainly been, fallen into that trap as well, thinking you know and you don't know, and it's really hard to
Everybody has,
be
yeah.
open, isn't it? It's really hard to take that other view. Tell me though, with the entrepreneurs and the clients you've got, have you had any experience or any thoughts around whether there's any difference between men and women in that kind of scenario?
Yeah, well, I don't coach women, um, for that reason, I guess, because just from my personal past experiences, I don't connect as well with women.
Right.
So not that I couldn't help them, but uh, I enjoy interacting more with men just because I feel like I can connect with them better and communicate with them better. And as I mentioned earlier, my dad, it's like communication is such a huge part of everything. And so, not that I necessarily wouldn't help a woman, but that's my program isn't really marketed towards them. So
Yeah.
as of late, I coached
I don't know.
females.
I looked at it and I thought there's some, your entrepreneurship, the holistic part, the way you're doing it around the well-being side. I think I'd get ready. I reckon you're going to have some powerful entrepreneurial women come your way, Taylor. So you may have to call on your dad.
I'm open to it. Yeah.
I think you will, because I love the program and I think it's so holistic. And there's just such a huge amount of them, certainly running businesses and being entrepreneurs, definitely coming out of the pandemic as well. I think that's been an interesting shift. How's, just out of interest on that, how's your business gone through the pandemic, and how have you adapted to coaching, and like through this period of 2020?
Yeah, actually, last year, 2020, is when I started my business at literally the very start of the year, and 2020 was a great year. It was amazing. I mean, for a year when most well-established businesses, let alone startups, would fail,
Yeah.
my business thrived because it turns out people want to get healthier, happier, and more productive, and they want their business to grow. So I did well in 2020. This year, it's actually not gone as well, and it's my own fault just because I haven't really gone out and done a lot of the marketing. But um, yeah, I'm loving the success. I'm only a year and a half in and growing fast, so I'm excited for the next 40 plus, 60 plus years of my life.
It's a really good angle on that. I'm doing a keynote in a while, and I was just doing the research around it. And I got asked by our local government here in where I'm in Melbourne, and I was coaching 6 businesses, right? And it's amazing. Two of them were born in COVID, and they've won industry awards, right? From June last year to June this year. And 2 of them who were established businesses have readjusted, cut the costs, got themselves back on, won some new clients, and are back on their way forward again. And 2 of them didn't make it. And I'm telling you, it's literally the attitude and mindset and being open to coaching.
Yes.
That are coachable, and I'm sure it's no surprise to you. It's just, I'm especially proud of the ones who were born, I call born in COVID, because they literally had the wheels in motion, started. There's no holding them back; they were going anyway. But the owners just reached out straight away and said, "No, the mentorship and the guidance here, now totally open." And they've been amazing. I mean, I'm contributed a little bit, but they've been amazing to listen, but more importantly, take action and do things. Which is, does that get a frustrating part for you? Do you have any? Do you take on any clients who they kind of listen, get it, but they don't take the action?
I've had that in the past, but that's before I kind of rebranded a little bit, which is why this year's gone a little bit slower because I was working on a rebrand. Because when I first started, I was just coaching entrepreneurs, just a broad term entrepreneurs. Now that I switched to social entrepreneurs and impactful entrepreneurs, that kind of stopped because impact entrepreneurs have a greater vision and purpose for why they're in business. And so they're not just in it for themselves. Yes, they obviously benefit, but so does whatever their business is helping. For example, my latest client, he gives 10% of proceeds towards seed turtle conservation. So one of the things we talked about is like, okay, if you don't show up for your business and you don't spread the awareness about this issue, you're not only hurting yourself, but you're killing sea turtles. I mean, not literally, but
Yeah.
they're getting help the more you succeed. So it's like you have to show up for them as much as you do yourself.
And
And the point you made about,
did you call
what was
them
that?
impactful entrepreneurs? The word you used.
Yeah, impact entrepreneurs.
Impact. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, impact entrepreneurs. Yeah. And that point you made about your clients who understood the value of coaching, one of my former clients said it on my podcast. He's like, because I interview some of my clients, he said he now understands that some form of coaching or mentorship, not just in life, but especially entrepreneurship, is essentially required, because entrepreneurship is all. And if you can hire somebody who can get you to your end destination faster, why wouldn't you hire that person? So, and I know this myself, I always have some form of coach or mentor, always, like no exceptions, because as a coach, I understand the importance of it. It's huge, asking for help.
And you just can't do it on your own. No successful entrepreneur, and certainly no successful one who makes an impact, Taylor, has ever done it on their own.
No way.
No. Way. I really like that impactful entrepreneur. I think that's a really good point. I like the way you pivoted the business to that. I think it's a really smart way of doing it. I haven't actually come across it before, but I really like that in terms of who you bring on, in terms of that giving. It doesn't matter, if you listen to Tony Robbins or anybody else, they've always talked about one of the great legacies of contribution. What are you giving back to? And certainly, the business I'm with here, we contribute every month. We've got a very giving nature. I love it, and it's fantastic. One of the life lessons you were taught, which I picked up on, was that was nothing lasts forever. So nothing lasts forever. Tell me about that and how that impacts maybe how you use that.
Yeah, that was said to me this was when I was in the Marine Corps. I was going through the Scout Sniper Screener, which is basically 5 days of torture, physical, mental, emotional, no sleep, maximum 4 hours a night, sometimes no sleep, very little food, just constant movement, doing these different physical exercises, mental exercises to see if you have what it takes to make it in the sniper platoon. And it was on one of the last days. We just finished some super long hike or something, and it was me and a couple other guys and one of the instructors, and there was no other instructors around, so he kind of let his guard down a little bit, and he could tell that we were struggling, and we still had another day left, and we thought about quitting all the time. And so what he said was, everything comes to an end and nothing lasts forever. And that was like all we needed. It's like, no matter what came tomorrow, no matter what the instructors could throw at us, and this applies to life, whatever life throws at you, it doesn't matter, because everything comes to an end, and whatever you're going through, it won't last forever. Now, you have to take some action. It's not just going to magically, everything's going to be okay. You have to, keep going through it and maybe tweak some things. But yeah, that quote is, it was amazingly helpful in the moment. And that's still, to this day, sometimes what I think about. It's like, okay, if I'm going through a tough time, it's not going to last forever. So.
Yeah, I think that's a great one when people are in like a pandemic or something like that. And it was a great. I was on a podcast with John Maxwell, a leadership coach, and he said, I can tell you now, I'm 74, but I can tell you, nothing lasts forever, and there's always a solution, right? Nothing lasts forever. There's always a solution. I think the other part of it is that why you've got to live in the now, and why you've got to do things now as well, because nothing lasts forever. Because be they businesses or circumstances or economic tailwinds behind you, for example, you've got to take advantage of that stuff. So it's a great quote to work both ways, isn't it? That the bad times will end, but also good times will not also always be good times. So let's have fun and do the things we've got to do now.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of stress and anxiety comes from, is not living in the present moment. A lot of anxiety comes from worrying about what could potentially happen in the future, or about what had already happened in the past, neither of which you can control, especially what happened in the past. You can't do anything about that. You might be able to have some influence and control over what happens in the future, but that depends on what you do now.
Yeah.
So if you are reminiscing about the past or worried about the future, that's where the anxiety comes in. So focus on what you can do in this moment. Just be
Yeah.
here now.
There's a great quote. I think it was one of the, you may even know, it's one of the great baseball players, I think, but it's win. What's important now? So and a couple of my friends have got them as screensavers on their laptops or a post around. It just says win. What's important now? Like what are you focused on now? That's going to make the future better.
Love that.
Have that. That's a really good one, especially when you're busy, when you're an entrepreneur, you get caught up in so many different things, don't you? And you're multitasking and trying to do it all, but just to go actually bring my focus back. And sometimes that's going to be, getting a coach. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is a call to you, right? Or, actually, I haven't got this. And when someone, a gift, reaches out on Instagram, like Taylor, saying, hey, man, I can help you out, you don't see the gift. I mean, honestly, really, but it is what it is. And you dealt with that, I think, in a really great way. Hey, if we could travel back in time, you and I got back in some sort of time machine, and we went back in time, and we caught up with 15-year-old Taylor. God knows what he was doing at 15, but if we caught up with 15-year-old Taylor somewhere, what words of advice would you have for him?
Listen. I would say listen, because at 15, I didn't listen to anybody. I didn't care what anybody said. I thought I knew what was best. And so I wish I would have listened to other people. I mean, not necessarily in school, because I've got a few issues with the school system, but I just, like my parents, I wish I would have listened to them. I wish I would have been more open to new ideas and perspectives, as opposed to thinking that I know everything. Because almost everything that I've learned has come from when I admit I don't know anything, and then I can learn. Going back to that quote, you can't learn what you think you already know. So that's what I would say, is just listen.
Listen and be open. I think that's a great words of advice for any 15-year-old Taylor, not just. I think I was certainly open for that kind of thing as well. Hey, how can we find out more about Taylor and the Captain's Lifestyle? Where can people find you? What's the best place to go to find out more information?
Yeah, best place is info.thecaptainslifestyle.com. That has links to all my socials, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, my podcast on all platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, as well as my website. There's also that link will let you download my free nightly ritual, the 4-3-2-1-30 method, so you can get better sleep and therefore have a better life, because everything stems from sleep. So you can find it all there.
I love that. A big one in that says sleep, nutrition. You cover it all. I love what you're doing for entrepreneurs, and I know you're helping things way beyond yourself as well. And I'm really happy to have connected with Taylor 2.0. I'm sure 1.0 was a ball of fun as well. I think 2.0.
Oh yeah, different kind of fun.
It was fun, Taylor 1.0. Thanks so much, Taylor, for your time today.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode of the It's All Possible podcast. Please subscribe and rate the podcast you listen to, so we can continue to serve you and inspire others. Remember, connect to us on all the social media channels. The It's All Possible podcast is hosted by me, Rob Hartnett, and produced by the phenomena that is Finn Hartnett. Connect with us via LinkedIn, Instagram, or the link tree in the show notes.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.